Hi, everybody. Thanks for joining us. So for those of you who don't know me, my name is Peter Llewellyn. I run the services at MedComms so information, resources, activities, and so on for people who work in and around medical communications, medical education, medical publishing across the globe. You'll find lots of resources at MedCommsNetworking.com and videos at NetworkPharma TV and so on. So do go and have a look. I'm having a bit of fun at the moment, as I do from time to time, talking to people across the world, across the business, about their personal stories, their MedComm stories, as it were. So today, I'm delighted to be joined by Emma Henshall from New Zealand. So, Emma, I won't steal your thunder. Just tell us who you are and where you are.
So I'm Emma, and I'm in Auckland, and I'm the medical lead for Publicis in Australia and New Zealand.
Fantastic. Okay, so we'll come back to that in a minute. Let's just start at the beginning. I understand you've got a pharmacy background, so take us to the beginning, the work as a pharmacy, and maybe talk a little bit about how you then discovered medical writing, as it were.
Yeah, sure. So I was practicing as a community pharmacist here in Auckland, and then and I was loving it and thought I would always be a pharmacist. But then went for the OE over in the UK, and that was when, as so many New Zealanders do, we go to the UK for 2 years to work.
Right.
It's a very well-trodden path, and then I couldn't practice as a pharmacist there, so I was forced to find a new career, and that's when a recruiter told me about medical writing.
And what was your first job then? What did you start as?
Oh gosh, I had a few there. I became a recruitment consultant at one point, but I also worked at the NHS as a kind of like a pharmacy technician there as well. So I was working at Croydon Hospital, and then I got a role with Bristol Myers Squibb as a medical writer, and that
Right,
was
okay.
that was much better. Yeah.
Excellent. Okay, so that was what I was getting at. So the introduction to medical writing was via BMS. So you went into the pharma company as a medical
Yes.
writer.
Yes, so it was a bit of a desperate journey till I found that role, and then it was
Okay.
it was great. Yeah.
And what sort of medical writing did you do in the
Yeah.
company?
Yeah, so it was non-promotional medical information type writing. So I was in the global medical content team. So we're making I was focused on Yervoy, ipilimumab. I'm sure I'm saying that wrong. But yeah, so doing all of the medical communication for the conferences and MSLs, so not for, gosh, sorry, because I've got into agency land now. It was a very different type of work. It was
Right.
when anyone called for a question on the drug, like how to use it, healthcare professionals, we prepared the standard responses for compiling all the latest data for common questions from healthcare professionals. And then we also did all the new data releases for conferences and stuff. So yeah.
So supporting the medical information, medical affairs type people, yeah?
Exactly. Yeah.
Okay. So take us on from there. So where did the journey take you after that?
Yeah, so then fast forward a couple of years, and then my visa expired, so we had to leave. And then I thought if we came back to New Zealand that my little stint as a medical writer would end, because I didn't feel like there's much pharma industry in New Zealand. So we moved to Australia.
Okay.
Yeah, so moved to Australia, but we chose the wrong city because we moved to Melbourne, and then there's not that much pharma industry there either. But while we were job hunting in Melbourne, one medical writing role came up at an agency, and I luckily got it. So that was like a total change. So going from global non-promotional MedComms to working in an agency environment where I was working across lots of different pharma companies, lots of different drugs, and that really fast-paced environment. And where I'd come from being in a medical team at BMS, now I was suddenly surrounded by, all creatives, designers, all the accounts team and everything. So a totally different environment, but I realized quite quickly that I really loved it. Agency was good for me. Yeah.
Okay. And was that promotional work, or was that
yes,
education work? It's more promotional, wasn't it?
Yeah. So went from global to regional, and then non-promotional to fully promotional, really.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay, so you're getting quite a span of experience there across a lot of different formats and content and so on. Okay.
Yeah.
And so, okay, so keep the story going. So you're now in an agency environment, presumably a much smaller environment apart from anything else. And
Yes,
as you say,
much smaller.
surrounded by creatives and so on. Yeah.
Yeah.
And then where did you go from there? What was happening after that?
Yeah. So I was, then I became a senior medical writer, and I was recruiting team members and training up junior writers and things. It was lots of fun. But then I decided to go freelance.
Right. Okay.
Yes. Then I went, just for the reasons to leave that agency, essentially. So I went freelance, and then and that was good as well. It was really good to experience different agencies and to work with different my clients now were agencies.
Right.
And just to experience how the different agencies operated and what was out there, essentially. And it's quite tricky to know how to find, even like how to build a clientele, initially. I just went from an awards list and found all the agencies who had won awards, and then just contacted all of them. So I just didn't really know how to go about. So it was a bit of a yeah. So, and that worked actually really well. I think I emailed maybe or LinkedIn 11 agencies, and I think I got 3 projects out of that, and then that just from word of mouth. Then you're kind of away. I think it's just that starting is really hard, I reckon, as a freelancer. But once you've got a few people who think you're good, and then they continue, it's good, I think. Yeah.
So how did you find freelance life?
I did like it, but I quickly, so I'm casting my memory back. I quickly realized I was too extroverted to be home alone all day. Yeah. Right. And I found that, like, compared to being in-house in an agency where you're just surrounded by people and it's really, really fun. Like, it's high energy and it's pretty chaotic, but it's also really fun. So I found, you had your calls with your client and everything, but it was really, you were doing a lot of kind of head down, just writing. It's very different to being in an agency. And then one of my clients quite quickly asked me to come in-house. And I remember just staring at the contract and being like seeing the time frame, like the 9 to 5 or whatever, like, and being like in Monday to Friday. And I was like, can I go back to that rigid? Right. So it was a bit of a toss up because I wasn't looking to go back in-house, but when they offered, and then it was literally just to be part of a team again. So I really like being part of a team.
Right.
So I did join, and it was a lot of fun, but I was also remote. So they were in Sydney. So a lot of agencies for Australia, they're generally in Sydney. So I was working remotely from Melbourne, but it still was really nice. Even though it's online, I'm still part of a team. You've still got all of that kind of banter with your colleagues, and you're all sharing experiences. You're also seeing projects from start to finish. That was something I kind of missed as a freelancer, where you'd do the work and then it would just disappear and you didn't really know what happened. Like, did the client like it? There was a bit of that I was missing. So it was good to
It's interesting, isn't it? I mean, it's interesting because you've got the big company experience, you've got the smaller agencies, you've got the freelancer experience. I mean, it's worth people trying these things, but understanding that there are places where you're comfortable. And learn your strengths and weaknesses and where you like to be. It's no bad thing to find out you're not actually enjoying freelance and you want to be part of an organization, or you want to be a small organization or a big organization or whatever. That's part of the challenge in life, is to find your niche, isn't it? And you certainly sort of got enough of that experience to find yours. And so you're back in an agency at this stage, is that right? And so. And just somewhere in there, sorry, I can't keep up the timelines a bit, but help me a little bit, because I know we might as well say you were very involved with the Australasian Medical Writers Association, weren't you? And indeed president at one stage. So somewhere in there, you're spending quite a lot of time in the professional association as well. Is that right?
Yes, and that actually ties in quite well, because I remember now why I joined. It was because I was freelancing and I wanted to be part of a team.
Okay, right. Okay, that makes sense.
That was it. Yeah. How did that happen? I did a course with Michelle Gilmard, so the previous president of MWA, and then we were just chatting, and then she later asked me to join, and then later to be president of MWA. And sorry, I'm getting tasks And then my big motivation for joining was at that time I was freelancing and I wanted to be part of a team again. Yeah.
Okay,
So that led me
okay,
to
okay.
MWA. Yeah.
Yeah, okay. Just for a moment, just tell us a bit about Amway, because I mean I haven't been very involved with them. So just give us a sense of what I don't know what they're doing and how big an organisation that is and so on.
Yeah, so the Australasian Medical Writers Association. So there's obviously the American MWA, but this is the Australasian.
Yeah, we need to distinguish between the two, don't we?
Yeah, very different. We are much smaller, but a big part of MWA is the networking and then the just the professional. It's kind of the peak body representing medical writers in Australasia, and by that we mean all medical communicators. So it's quite broad in terms of there's bloggers, there's such a range of medical writers, so lots who are coming from that clinical trial background and everything. But the common thread is most people are a little bit niche in this area of the world. It is a bit niche to be a medical writer. So it's really nice to have that professional body connecting you all, and all the networking events and the conference and everything. They put on brilliant events and just represent the organization. But the profession. But there was a lot of work to try and connect us more with, EMWA, the European Medical Writers Association, and things like that, and work more as a global kind of network as well. And obviously what you do. And we share a lot of all the events and things, and advertising roles and support, mentoring, resources.
Certainly, I mean, I always argue networking, being part of organizations, however formal or informal, is very useful for everybody. Freelancers, I think it's particularly so. I'm often surprised at how many don't become part of organizations to get the support. And so as a generalization, I think it's important. But in sort of Australia and New Zealand, I mean, there's a big area with relatively few people spread around. So I just assume that an organization like Amway is really very, very useful for a lot of people out there.
Yeah, and it's done in a very flexible, kind of practical way. It's literally anyone can offer to host an event in their city or town, and then Amway will facilitate, advertise, reimburse a certain value, and just to really make sure and if you're not a member, you can still go. So it's just to really connect and break down barriers. And
okay, cool. And you're still a member of that? You're still a member of that?
Yes, a member, but not on the board.
But not on the board. Okay. So let's just come back to your journey. So we've done a bit of freelancing. You're back in an agency. I think I'm right in saying you then went freelancing for a little bit again. So what happened there?
Yeah, so I was part of that agency for 4.5 years, maybe. But there are a couple of children in there, so there's a few leaves in there. And COVID. But so I'm at that agency for about 4.5 years, I think. And that agency was a bit different to the first one in terms of it had more of a MedComms kind of spin. So when I say that, sorry, I mean, because we all have different definitions. So more accredited medical education spin.
Oh, right. Okay, that's interesting. Okay.
The work we were doing is quite different. A lot more videos, a lot more filming, key opinion leaders, and doing lots of film, lots of accredited education, and it was good. Yeah. Anyway, then I went on mat leave for my second baby, and then I decided to resign from that role and then go freelance so I could have a more casual kind of. I was looking for just fewer hours, more flexible, not that agency intensity with a second baby.
Right. Okay.
Yeah. Just so I could stay home with her while, that's what I think is really good about medical writing, is that flexibility you can have if you need it. Yeah.
You can adapt around your life a little bit like that.
Yeah.
But having said that, without wanting to put words in your mouth, I think I'm right in saying you realized once again that you were more comfortable within an organization, and that's what's led you to Publicis. Is that right?
It was, yes, and it was always going to be short. So I always planned on, so I knew I wanted to leave that agency. I felt like I'd kind of learned as much as I could in that agency. I wanted, what my hope was to return to a big global again, like I'd had at BMS. So I really, as much as I love agency, I wanted a global agency with more of that kind of scope and opportunity. The professional development, because I felt like I kind of got as developed as I could be within the smaller agencies. You know, I was just kind of going through the motions. I wasn't really learning more. Whereas, so I left that agency knowing that, and then freelanced because of my lifestyle stage in terms of wanting to look after an under 1-year-old. And then once my baby turned 1, I knew I wanted to go back to a big global with more opportunity. Yeah.
Okay.
And that became Publicis.
That's Publicis. And just briefly, because we ought to wrap up now, but so what's your role at Publicis? Just give us a sense of what you're doing there now.
Yeah, so same title as I had at my previous agency, so medical lead. So essentially it's kind of just representing the department and mentoring my team, recruiting, managing, and also, of course, managing any difficult situations where things go wrong, which obviously they do. So I represent medical and I take responsibility for whatever happens because I'm kind of the final sign off on a lot of things. And but of course I also do medical writing too, and I love that, you know, actually getting on the tools and writing copy. I do a lot of proofing and a lot of editing, a lot of client meetings. So I am in a lot of strategy, and so it's really it's very broad, very interesting. Yeah.
Okay. And just out of interest, perhaps to wrap this up, but you're now responsible for recruiting medical writers into the business, yeah? Have you got a tip? I mean, if somebody's watching this thinking I'd like it, because it's you've had a really quite varied career, and there's a lot in there that someone might be sort of thinking I'd really like to be past that. What would you be saying to me if I was thinking I'd like to go in that direction? Any tips as an aspiring medical writer?
So in terms of going to an agency?
I mean, what should I be thinking about if I'm interested in coming to try and follow you?
Yeah, so depends which part of it, but essentially it's about that, just putting yourself out there and making those connections. I think using initiative, and so LinkedIn's an amazing tool, obviously, for connecting with people, and of course what you offer as well, but just
So make some connections, network. LinkedIn is great, and I'm leading you into this, okay, Emma. So if anyone's watching this and thinking this is really interesting, can I say on your behalf that you'd welcome people to make connections with you? Yeah.
Oh, sure, absolutely. So via LinkedIn, to chat to me, yeah, sure. But I also think recruiters and. Yeah, it's tricky. It depends which market you're in as well. But yes,
of course. All I was trying to do was encourage people to go, I think this sounds fantastic. I'll reach out to Emma and say hello. And I know that you're happy to hear from people.
What if I'm pretty bad at replying at the moment because life is very intense, but I will try.
Okay, excellent. That's all we need. Look, it's been brilliant talking to you. I love hearing these stories, and you've had an interesting career. So good luck with it. Good luck with the kids. And I'm gonna say, let's just call a halt there. Say goodbye. Give a little wave. Wish everybody a good day. Cheers. Bye.